Oh gosh, no. Sorry. Here we go. We're gonna get this fixed up. To anyone that's actually watching right now, very sorry because I thought I was prepared and really I wasn't. Okay, we're gonna try it one more time because I'm just a silly goose, and that's all there is to it. Thankfully, I can edit all of this good stuff out.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, so people that are listening won't have to endure the pain.
Oh,
all
no.
right, here we go.
Save the Second is a pro-Second Amendment organization. Through good or bad, we're here to help drive and save the NRA from itself and the Second from the infighting that happens among the Second Amendment supporters. Because without the Second, the rest will fall. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual co-host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Save the Second or their employers. This show offers commentary on the latest news associated with the NRA and Save the Second's endeavor to promote a strong, relevant, effective, and accountable NRA.
Welcome to episode 15 of the Save the Second podcast. Today is still Sunday, December 22nd, 2019. We still have 3 days before Christmas. This is a double header day for the podcast. Earlier this afternoon, we recorded episode 14. Now I am joined by a couple of very special guests. You see, in my day job, it isn't uncommon for me to meet celebrities. Now, I rarely interact with those celebrities, and it is even more rare that I consider myself honored whenever I meet celebrities. These two men, however, joining me today aren't celebrities, and most would consider them average Joes. On the other hand, I believe that they are exactly what the Second Amendment community needs more of. And to me, I am very, 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 very honored to have these guys with us today. They're awesome, and I'm just blessed to have them and consider them my friends. So I have Chris Gillespie and Jamison Nethery. By God, Chris, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, you don't know how happy I am right now just to have you guys on. It's just so awesome. Jamison, how are you, sir?
Doing good. Doing good.
So both of these guys are friends of Save the Second. I've known them for, well, a couple of years now. And we don't live in the same town. We're internet buddies. And that's, I guess, how a lot of this, goes, where the Second Amendment community is not tied to one location. It's all across the United States. So let's start off with some interviews. How about that? Chris, will you please tell me where you're from and what you do?
I am from St. John's, Michigan. It's a little town about 20 miles north of the capital of Lansing. Work in a warehouse. So I'm lifting heavy boxes and walking about 10 miles a day, every day for work. On the side, I make soap, and I like to shoot.
You mentioned the soap, and of course that's what I love so much. Michigan Man soap, folks. Chris Gillespie is Mr. Michigan Man, and oh my goodness, I hope my father or some of my friends that I got presents from don't actually watch this, but a lot of your products are going to be Christmas presents to my loved ones this year. You're awesome, and furthermore, Chris, I remember you won a particular handgun last year.
I most certainly did.
Yeah. Okay. You gotta tell us a little bit about that one.
So, down at, I guess it starts at NRAM last year, and going by the faxing booth, and they had these little cards that said, win the Patriot or the Hellfire pistol. Like, okay, cool. So I grabbed a couple of them, and each one of them had, a code that you would enter. That was the same code. You would go to the website, enter the contest, put that in there, and you got a couple extra entries for that card. So did that, and then there's a group that we're all part of that you got a couple extra. You got, I think, 100 extra entries for. And I didn't really think about it much after that. After the initial entry. And I think there was about 3-4 days left in the contest or in the giveaway before the gun was actually given away. And I remember it was a Thursday. I woke up and everybody was tagging me in this post. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I woke up to my phone just literally bing, 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 bing. I guess. And I wake up and my wife's like, your phone is just going off. What is going on? So I check it. I'm like, holy cow. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I send Kurt from Faxon a message. I'm like, is this me? Is this me? Did I just win this? And he's like, I think so. He's like, check your email. Calm down. Just check your email. If it's actually you. And sure enough, it was me. And I won that Hellfire pistol. That was pretty cool.
And that pistol is just, it looks so awesome. I'm jealous.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Yeah. So how did you get into firearms, Chris?
So I'd always had like kind of an affinity for guns, being a young boy in the 80s and stuff, and growing up through the 80s and 90s. And my dad and mom separated when I was 2. And neither one of them was really into guns. My dad had like a couple BB guns and stuff, but that was about it. And so we would, there was a little Red Ryder, and I remember like an air powered pistol, like .177 caliber, one of those. You could shoot like a BB, a pellet, a cork, or a dart out of it. And so that was the only like real exposure I had until my mom and my stepdad got together. And he had been one of the one that really got me into it. He had been around firearms his entire life and was a NRA instructor. I think it was pistol and rifle, maybe, I don't know. But I know at least pistol because he did teach the CPL classes. He did like target 22 in a league, and had tons of shooting trophies and stuff. And he's the one that really instilled that love of firearms and the Second Amendment in me. That's kind of where it started for me. I can still remember being 12 years old and shooting a 12 gauge slug for the first time. And he's like, all right, just hold on to it pretty tight. Don't, it's gonna hurt, but you'll be all right. Yeah, I did. It, shoulder was a little sore, but I was all right. So
yeah, that's what we call a gateway drug.
Okay. Exactly. Yep. Well, and then the next day he put a 44 mag in my hand, and he's like, "Here you go." Oh,
yeah, I'm not sure if that was a gateway drug, but
oh no, man, I loved it because I was always asking him. I was like, "Can I shoot that?" And he's like, "When you're a little bit bigger. When you're a little bigger." And we moved. So when they got married, we moved out to St. John's from Lansing, and we moved out to a house where we had 26.5 acres. Oh, wow. So we'd just go out the back door and just shoot, just blast. Oh, it was great. It's good times. My brother now owns that house, so we still go out there and shoot all the time.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jamison, hey, same questions to you. First, where are you from and what do you do?
All right. Well, I'm from Taylorsville, Kentucky. It's like maybe 30 minutes from Louisville. So, it's our biggest city, but it's not the capital. It's Frankfurt. And I'm a executive sous chef at a hospital in Louisville.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and folks, I got to tell you, Jamison's culinary arts are absolutely incredible. My wife actually, she works at a hospital, and so she's commonly lamented that she wishes that her hospital chefs were anywhere near the quality that you are.
Well,
I'm not joking there, man.
they're bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's not that you're going to go to a hospital to have a 4-course meal, but oh my goodness, sir, I have taken part in your excellent baking in particular, and oh my gosh, it's wonderful.
Oh, that cake, man.
Oh, so good. That cake was amazing. So, Jameson, how did you get into firearms?
Well, my dad, my father, he got me a BB gun when I was little, and I shot cans hanging from a tree. It was pretty awesome. I just sat there and just plink them all day long. And then, he moved me up to a 22. I put out cat food and shoot blackbirds. I'd bait them in. Yeah.
Oh, man, this time of year, they're so thick, too. Oh, buddy.
Oh, I know. They're terrible. And, yeah, it was my father. If it wasn't for my father, I probably wouldn't be here talking on this podcast today for my love of firearms. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's ironic. I've got a similar story. Like you guys, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, and heck, my dad had me shooting when I was probably 6, 7 years old. I believe it was Christmas when I was 5. I got my first BB gun, and I got it quickly taken away because I wasn't being safe with it, and I learned my lesson real fast. Oh, buddy, I still remember that belt on the behind. Yes, I'll learn my lesson, and of course, I love firearms today, like you guys. So, okay, I'm an NRA member, right? I finally have my voting eligibility after 5 consecutive years of NRA membership, and you guys are both NRA members. Chris, tell us about your membership.
Yep, I'm doing the paid life, where you do, I think it's $25 payments every month for, I want to say it's 2 years, and then you're a life member, and you have your voting rights. So that is literally the only reason that I'm still a member, is because of the voting rights, so that I can vote to try to make a difference in the NRA.
Right. Buddy, the same reason why I'm continuing on my annual membership, even though it pains me with the way that things are going, that I would have to continue to give my dues,
right?
To potentially fund corruption. Yeah, it's frustrating. Jameson, what about you, man? What level of membership are you?
Well, I'm an annual member. I sign up every year at Cabela's. I get that $25 gift card. I feel like, I get a little something back, I can spend that on ammo, and I'm not, I guess, some of the money's taken out of the corruption or the donation, whatever. And, I'm going to keep it that way. Because, in a roundabout way, annual memberships are where they, get a lot of their money. So I've been told. I don't know if that's true. But, so let's see. I've been a member since, I think, 2013, when the NRA, that was the first not the first NRAM in Louisville, but it was the first one that I got to attend. And, I joined so I could go to that, and then somehow my membership lapsed, and it would have been 5 years. I would have had my 5 years. I would be a voting member, but it lapsed, and now I've got like 3-4 years. I can't remember, but
yeah,
I'm going to continue because I want to vote just like Chris. So,
right, there's so many of us that have had that happen. I think I had my membership lapse, a little over 5 years ago, and I didn't even think about it. And of course, there goes the voting eligibility. Now, that's not to say that NRA members cannot vote if they aren't voting eligible. You can vote at the NRA annual meeting for the 76th director election. And a lot of people say, well, if you don't have voting eligibility, you don't have a say in your organization. By humbug, no, that absolutely is not correct. You are a member and you have rights within the membership. So don't think little of yourself if you're not voting eligible yet. And you can certainly make a difference. Now, you can certainly make a difference, in the NRA, even if you're not a voting eligible member. But we're starting to see a lot of push from the outside. So many NRA members have intentionally left the NRA that it's certainly becoming something to open our eyes on. And hopefully the board of directors sees that and sees that, for example, in 2017, the membership was at a massive low. They lost, I believe it was $10.8 million in revenue just from the amount of people that weren't renewing on the annual membership side. So, yeah, I don't want to discourage people from becoming members or rather continuing their membership, especially if you have voting eligible rights like, what I have and what Jamison is hoping for and Chris is hoping for. But on the other hand, man, that's been a conversation that we've had where we don't want to continue to give money to the proverbial crack addict that's just going to go out and waste that money. That's a tough one.
That's what I try to tell everybody. They're like, why are you still an NRA member if you don't like them? I'm like, because there's got to be a change from within. I don't want to see it burn to the ground. We're like, the NRA is the most powerful, I guess you want to say, gun rights lobbying organization. And, I don't want that to just disappear. I mean, yeah, there is GOA, there's, Second Amendment Foundation, there's FPC, but at the end of the day, do they have as much, clout and as the NRA? So let's keep it that way. Let's just fix the problems within.
Yeah, and I wouldn't ever discourage anybody from joining FPC. Jamison, I notice you're wearing a Firearms Policy Coalition patch. I've got several of those. I'm an FPC member. I'm a GOA member.
Right. And just because you're a GOA member doesn't mean you can't be a member of any other places. I mean, heck, have your NRA membership and your GOA. I mean, at one point in time, I was a member of GOA, NRA, FPC, and some other ones, I think. It was like right when the bump stock ban was. It was either bump stock ban or Parkland. Like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to join. And some of them I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have joined that one. They're not that great. But I'm not going to mention names.
Right.
But, I still joined them. I mean, what's it going to hurt? As long as they're pro Second Amendment, pro Constitution.
Absolutely. And sorry to get off on that tangent so early. I don't want to just grill you on, you got to be an NRA member. No, sorry. No, let's get back to the script because, I don't really have a script, but we do have some talking points that I think are very interesting because, I love shooting. I was out shooting today. Jamison was also out shooting today. Chris, I don't think you were shooting today, but I know you have recently. Yeah, both of you guys love shooting. So tell me about the last time that you went to the range. What did it look like? What did you shoot? Yeah. I tell you what, Jamison, I mean, I was following your stuff today. Tell me about today for you.
All right. Well, it was pretty awesome. I got to take my girlfriend's little brother out shooting at the indoor range. He has a 22. He shoots shotguns a lot, but it was his first time shooting an AR, I think. And, he handles them really safely already. I didn't have to be like, keep your finger on the trigger or anything. But so, yeah, he got to shoot an AR. He's been wanting to shoot like a lightweight AR. So I had one I recently built for him to shoot. And then he was really interested about PC carbines and PC, just, pistol caliber stuff. So I had my Scorpion there. He really liked that. It's just so easy to shoot. It's cheap to shoot. It's fun. And then, he wanted to rent something from like video games. So we got the Scar off the wall and put 2 mags through that. And that was, I enjoyed that. Okay. It was a little for him. No, it was mostly for him, little for me. But it's a sweet shooting rifle. It's a little out of my price range, probably. What, $3,000 at most.
Oh yeah.
That's without the $500 EOTech that was on it. But today, I mean, he wouldn't stop talking about it. It was awesome. And then we were on our way out, so we had to go look at every single thing. It was great. He was just loving it. And so yeah, he's trying to decide on his first purchase, if he wants to build something or wants to buy it. So
now
you won't have time for drugs.
And you got to tell me about that, because what was it, over the summertime? You had like some sort of confrontation with him. He was like anti-gun or something, right?
No, he was just wondering, like, why I was carrying, and he's like, really, but education, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, that is so true. And by the way, I got to take my next door neighbor out to the range early this morning. He has his first handgun, Walther PPS M2, and yeah, he hadn't shot it, and he bought it probably 4 months ago, and he hadn't shot it yet. So, okay, buddy, we're going to the range. Let me teach you some stances, some grips, trigger press, sight alignment, all the good stuff. Oh, buddy, we had a wonderful time. I love being at the range, and more so, I love teaching folks that haven't shot before. Oh my gosh, it brings such a smile to my face, and it's so much fun. So, Chris, tell me, when was the last time you shot? What did it look like? What did you do? Go ahead.
Last time I was shooting was like mid-fall. Went out to my brother's house and took the Vector out there, took the AK and one of my AR pistols and the Hellfire. And we just, went through a couple hundred rounds through each one of them, and, just had a good time. We put some tannerite down range and touched that off. So that's always a good time.
So fun. I've still got a video of my daughter, who was, at the time, she was 6 years old, lighting off some tannerite. And it's just the funniest thing, man. I love tannerite.
Oh, it's so fun.
Awesome.
So much fun. The time before that was with the Michigan Meat Ponies.
Yep.
We all went down to a range down near Detroit. And me, Dustin, and Jeff were the only ones that showed up, and we just had a good time. I mostly shot my Vector. We all brought probably 3-4 guns, and it was a good time. It's always a good time shooting with those guys.
Yeah. Oh, well, just shooting with anybody, man. Anytime that I get to get some trigger time and I'm around some friends, and this morning too, even better. Not only did I get to take my next door neighbor shooting his handgun for the first time, but my wife came out, and one of my other friends, and so there was 4 of us on the range, and of course we were extremely safe and whatnot. But, buddy, I'm sitting here, teaching my neighbor, and I look over at my wife, and she's doing a dot torture drill from one of her Secret Santa box. Oh, I loved it so much. It was great. So, Chris, obviously we know so many similar people on Facebook, because, well, Facebook has very much become an area where people of a like mind can come together and discuss stuff. I mean, if you want to learn something about the Scorpion, Jamison, there's a Scorpion group, that's got about 20-some thousand people in it. Same with the Scars and the Vector. Oh my goodness, that Vector page is, it's always a interesting page.
Mm-hmm.
So Facebook groups are an interesting thing. So, guys, how do you see the Second Amendment advocacy being affected by social media? I mean, it's social media is relatively new, right? In the last 10 years, it's really taken off. Is it going to affect the way that we advance the Second Amendment? Chris, what are your thoughts?
I definitely think so. Our side definitely needs to be more effective with it. I feel like in some aspects we're doing all right, but we really need to try to reach out to those fence sitters, and bring them in and say, hey, if you'd like, I can take you to the range, or I can have a conversation with you, or I can whatever, just talk with them, engage with somebody, rather than, I think too many times we would just go to, you're wrong because X, Y, and Z, and we don't ever offer any solutions. Just, you're wrong, this is why.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I'm guilty of that too. I mean, heck, looking at my Facebook memories, there were so many memes and whatnot that I was resharing that they were not going to welcome anybody that was sitting on any fence. Very polarizing. And so, I've definitely taken a long, hard look in the mirror on that. Jamison, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that social media is going to be a really big key. I mean, you can look at the Save the Second page and some of the stuff that gets put on there. I mean, you get the people that don't understand what we're trying to do. You get the people that just follow the NRA. I know this has to do with all the Second Amendment, but
Sure.
That's one thing I can think of was like how the NRA spews these. They spew, like, they say, oh, well, that's fake news, but they give zero evidence. Well, what else do we have besides articles from, left-leaning news sites, The Blaze, New York Times. And so they'll come out and, attack Save the Second and say that we're anti-gun, we're anti-Second Amendment, we're anti-NRA. That's not the case. So, I see that the NRA is just, or say the social media is really advancing the message of like, groups like Save the Second. Me personally, I feel like I've grown as a gun owner, as a patriot, as a, constitution believer, with social media. I am, one of the younger people, I guess you could say. So maybe if there's a way that we can reach that older generation with social media, I don't know about that, but we got the future to look forward to. So maybe we just keep working at what we're doing, because I've felt it personally as a gun owner.
And you mentioned the age demographic, separation, right? And there's a big divide there, and a lot of folks don't, or at least aren't really aware of what that looks like and how it looks like and what it smells like and so on. I grew up in going to church. Many of you did as well, of course, and especially in the 90s and early 2000s. If you looked at Christian denominations throughout the United States, there began a massive separation between, at least in those churches, of, say, hymnal worship and like rock music worship, and it's still going on today, of course, and I see a lot of similarities there in the Second Amendment community, where you have the guys that are, essentially the hymnal, guys that only want firearms to go hunting, and then you got the Second Amendment absolutists who are, saying everybody should have a grenade launcher, and then some. So there's a huge divide there, and sometimes I think that social media is absolutely more divisive, but then there are instances in which I see a lot of bridges being made, and fixing that divide. Chris, are you seeing any of that?
Yeah, actually, last night, in fact, my uncle and I were just sitting there talking at a family Christmas, and he's pushing 70, and we were kind of talking about what's been going on in Virginia, and I never took him to be much of a gun guy, and he just started asking me about some of my guns and stuff, and he's like, if they ever try anything, they have no idea what you guys are capable of, and I got to get one of those shotguns. I was telling him, I was telling him about this thing. I showed him the picture of the black aces, and he's like, I got to get one of those. He's like, I need to put that in the closet, load it up with some buckshot. But yeah, I don't know. I never took him as somebody that would support anything other than like hunting or anything like that. But yeah, he, I'm seeing it more and more now with things that have been going on, especially in the last several weeks, where you're seeing people come out of the woodwork and say, okay, maybe we do need ARs. Maybe we do need pistols.
Yeah, in Virginia, man, I mean, militias now. I mean, like,
Yeah.
honest to God, mobilizing of militias. That's unprecedented. I've never heard anything of that in my lifetime before, outside of some guys that I used to make fun of,
I can think of one time it happened, and that was about 300 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good point. Absolutely. Man, Jameson, what about you? Are you seeing any sort of bridges being made in that gap?
I want to comment on that church thing. I've seen that personally. It made me laugh. And the Babylon Bee, they do a lot of good articles about that as well.
Oh, that satire is so good.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to win over hearts and minds. And, I mean, if you have like some older people or, that just don't understand, take them to the range, see if they'll go to the range with you, show them how, like, one thing for me, I always think I hunt with an AR, and I'm just thinking, I don't want to hunt with a bolt action anymore because, one, my bolt action's kind of heavy. It's got a heavy barrel on it, but it's just, cumbersome, follow-up shots, everything. I have a light 300 blackout that I use, and I'm just like, this is like made for an older person. It's just light recoil, very lightweight. This is the new hunting rifle. Yeah. So, that hunting rifle thing, maybe they just need to have their minds changed. They're like, oh, I understand now. This piece of this firearm is a lot more, viable option for hunting. And maybe get them out of that mindset.
And that's an interesting one. I think we're all fans of John Patton and the Gun Collective. Over the summer, he did a video that it had a lot of controversy behind it. I think the name of the video was "When Shall Not Be Infringed Stops Working," and he was really talking, of course, in that video about our echo chamber. We're guilty of having an echo chamber where, I'm going to talk to Jamison and Chris about Chris Vectors all day long, and I'm not going to include anybody else. And so we get in this bubble that we never really escape. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, when we come to those hobbies that are niche and we have to have friends that speak that language and understand. But on the other hand, we can't just go into conversations, with people that are maybe on the fence, somebody that we could potentially win over to the constitutional, supporting Second Amendment side. And we can't just type, angrily shall not be infringed, expecting that to do anything good. So I've been thinking about that for a while, and I want your guys' thoughts. So there's a lot of gullible people out there. We see them. We see them a lot, and occasionally I have been guilty of being naive. So I'm curious what you think. How do we truly educate these folks who have the wrong information? Of course, you mentioned taking them to the range and whatnot, but for example, let's use the NRA debacle going on as an example. If an NRA member that is unaware of any of the corruption going on in the NRA right now, if they come up to you and said that the NRA is fine and there's no problem, how do you educate them without completely turning them off? What do you think, Chris?
Well, that's a tough one.
Man, that's the one I'm dealing with. Sorry. That's why I want your opinion.
Yeah, no. I think I would start with showing them where the Ackerman McQueen stuff and the Wayne LaPierre's expense account stuff. I would pull that up and probably show them on my phone and say, look, this is the reasons why I have the opinions that I have about the NRA and specifically the leadership in the NRA. And maybe go from there. I know some of them are going to say, oh, well, that's fake news, blah, blah, blah. But you might catch one that will actually look into it and try to research a little bit more, hopefully.
Yeah, and I've seen that a couple of times, but man, it's so rare, and it's so often. I think I mentioned it earlier today that for many of us, we had been defending the Second Amendment and defending the NRA in years past so vehemently that when we're confronted with the reality that the NRA has wasted our dues and donations, that it's almost not believable. It's shocking enough where people would automatically say, well, that I don't believe that. The only explanation is that's fake news or that's anti-gun. Yeah. So boy, that conversation is difficult for a lot of people to swallow, but yeah, showing them those facts, I guess that's probably one of the best ways to go about it. Jamison, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that is a hard one, like Chris said. And I've been trying to think of that myself because, I'll see somebody in my friends list. It's like, NRA. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, do they know, what's going on with our organization? You're a member just as I, but do are you on that level? As the young people say, are you woke about the NRA?
Yeah.
But like what Chris said, just kind of show them, these are the bills, this is how much Wayne LaPierre spends on suits. I mean, what's your salary like? You may be able to scrape $20 or $35, $40, whatever it is for the membership, with their crazy deals they have on membership. You might be able to scrape together that just to become a member. And then he's spending, quadruple times your yearly salary on designer suits for what? What does he need those designer suits for? Like, really? Like, let's use that money to fight. And when you question NRA leadership about this, you get, well, that's just, as Chris said, fake news. That's not real. You're anti-gun for even questioning me about that. You are, as Marion Hammer called me, despicable or something to that measure.
Oh yeah, I remember that reply. Yeah,
but it's just like, okay, NRA, where's the evidence? I want this to be fake news. I want this to be fake news. But show me the evidence where it says that we spend way more on your God-given right to own a gun than Wayne LaPierre's right to wear a designer suit.
Yeah,
that's where I stand.
The thing that gets me is not necessarily that Wayne LaPierre had ever spent $274,965.03 at a Zigna store in Beverly Hills. Okay, the problem with me was that he did it with our dues and donations from an Ackerman McQueen American Express card. Oh my gosh, it still burns me up, and what burns me up more is that we now have 101 sanctuaries, 2A sanctuaries declared in Virginia, and not a single dime had been spent by the NRA to see any of that. Not a single email, nothing. It frustrates me. Now, before we continue on, because we can go down that rabbit hole some more, Peter B. He says, I think it depends on the individual. If you are talking one-on-one, some people comprehend history, others phone post, others just factual conversation. Groups, again, depend on the group. One learning, one willing to learn versus a hostile group. My goodness, that is absolutely true. And Peter, I'm so guilty of that. I really am, because I get frustrated and I type very matter of factly, not rudely, not calling people names, but my gosh, sometimes I've come across as an absolute jerk merely because I was trying to be ultra factual and very matter of fact, and I was portrayed as hostile as a result. And certainly that wasn't necessarily my hope or wish. And my gosh, it is tough to try to be friendly and not come across as a jerk when we're doing these conversations over text versus in person.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Right. And I have like experience with that. Like, if someone, I get a little defensive about it sometimes, and I don't mean to. It's just, it's like woven in my DNA. And, I love to shoot. I think it's fun. But there's also that like civil right. It's my civil right to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I get a little defensive about it. And I'm sorry if you're watching this and you've questioned me about it. And I've gotten a little defensive about it. I'm sorry. But it's my civil right, but guess what? It's also your civil right. It's the civil right of my neighbor down the road. It's every American, doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation. The Second Amendment is for everybody.
Yep.
And if we can get that message out there, maybe it'll change some minds. It'll get people to start thinking about it. Maybe a light bulb will come on above their head, like, that is my right. Why should I give that up? It's crazy. And, back in history, MLK, he had firearms, to protect himself, to protect his protesters, and I've read this, I don't know if it's factually true or not, but
With the
he
deacons.
He told his members not to come armed so they didn't be intimidating, and he would win over more people. It just kind of I don't know.
Yeah, what? And Peter responds too. He says, "Yeah, I get very defensive sometimes about it for the same reason, and I think we all do." Oh man, we do. Now, Chris, I want to go to you because you have something a little more interesting, I think, because you have a Facebook group called Second Amendment Support Group. Can you tell us about that? And have you guys been defensive and whatnot?
Oh yeah, most certainly. I think it all stems back to when Sandy Hook happened. A lot of it anyway. And I was new to Facebook. I got on Facebook shortly before that, and there were several anti-gun folks in my Facebook feed and stuff, and I saw them posting a bunch of anti-gun stuff. So and naturally I said, hold on, let's talk about this a second, and would explain my views on the matter. And one person in particular was pretty hardcore about just taking everything away from everybody, and I got pretty defensive with him. But a couple of years past that, I would post memes and stuff and articles regarding Second Amendment stuff. And I was just, I think it was about 2014, I decided to make the group. I was just, one day I was like, why not? Just make it. And invited some of my friends to join that I knew had similar beliefs, and started sharing it around. And it's grown to about 2,700 members right now. Trying to grow it a bit more. But yeah, in there, I like to post things that will start a conversation rather than just memes and pictures of guns. I don't know. Sometimes we'll get some really good discussion going, but other times it'll just be a bunch of memes that get posted in the comments section. But I think that's kind of what to expect on social media.
That's an interesting thing. I love memes. I love them to death, and I share a ton of them. Now, I don't share them usually in just my Facebook timeline or feed. I go to these groups where there's a lot of memes and a lot of similarities and whatnot. And like the latest one that my wife and I have found just hilarious is the Mandalorian. Yeah, we're posting baby Yoda memes, and it's so funny. But there's a lot of people that really get stirred up over memes, and there's a part of me that really wants to start doing more Second Amendment style memes, and particularly more memes that would spark conversation about the NRA, because my goodness, what a great conversation starter. And the other side of me is like, no, you just need to be professional. Just, hey, stick to your, the 5 goals that Save the Second has, and carry on. But man, how else do we start conversations with folks? Can you think of any other way?
So I think that you might be onto something there with the memes, especially with the younger generation of gun owners. Because that's a lot of the way they communicate. I think you might be onto something there.
Now, maybe so, or maybe I'm just dreaming up a solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. I'm not sure. I do know that your Facebook page, Chris, Second Amendment Support Group, is awesome. In fact, I want to try this real fast. I want to try to screen share. For any of those of you that would be listening, I'm sorry that you're just going to see or rather hear me describe it. So there is first of all a link in the new activity of the Second Amendment Support Group that I thought was really interesting. MSNBC has a poll. The question is, do you think people should be allowed to carry guns in public? Now, I've already answered this one, but it's going to let me do it again. Excellent.
Uh-oh.
So
More numbers for us.
That's right. Do you think people should be allowed to carry guns in public? It's a 3-part answer. A, yes, the Second Amendment guarantees it. B, no, it's too dangerous. And C, only for self-defense. Now, this is NBC definitely trying to split that vote, because guess what? Only for self-defense and yes. I mean, that's splitting it. It's a yes or no question. So absolutely yes. Let's see what we got here. Well, it's going to take too long to actually see the results. Oh, we're still at 46. No, here's the results. So 46% of people in this poll say yes, the Second Amendment guarantees it. That means 53% say no, it's too dangerous, and only 1% say only for self-defense. That is telling. Now, granted, there's only been 3,280. I'm sorry. Wow. Okay. 3,280,000 votes. That's a lot of votes. Holy smokes. But that's the sort of thing that I really enjoy seeing on the Second Amendment group. Not only is it engaging in what is relevant to us, like the Virginia stuff, man, that's been really interesting in that group, but also you start to see a little bit of things you wouldn't see elsewhere. You start to see a little bit of the anti-gun media and stuff like this poll in MSNBC. Yeah, there's 2 sides of our equation at Save the Second. Obviously, we're trying to have that conversation with NRA members to hopefully spur them to make their NRA accountable, once again. But my gosh, the real, at the end of the day, as friends always say, at the end of the day, we want to protect the Second Amendment, and that means trying to engage and win over anti-gun folks. Ooh, buddy, Chris, you're knocking it out of the park there, man. What sort of I think you've got some stuff coming up that you're going to try to do in the Second Amendment Support Group, right?
Yeah, we're shooting for 5,000 members, and we'll be doing a giveaway once we hit the 5,000 members. The rules for that and the giveaway are in the announcements. So
in the announcements. Very good. I need to go read those announcements, man. I'm terrible about reading the Facebook page group announcements. Yeah. So Jamison, now I guess a lot of people don't know what you do for Save the Second. Would you like to tell everybody what you do for Save the Second?
Yeah, I come to your mailbox almost every Monday and sometimes different days, or your junk box, depending on how you got your mail set up. But I write the newsletters for Save the Second. So yeah, if there's any typos, I'm the person to blame.
Oh man, you do such an excellent job. Honest to God, I love seeing that, and thank you so much for doing that. Every time I see the Save the Second email, I'm like, wow, that I'm a part of that. That's amazing. Oh,
Right.
Oh, and yeah, you do such a good job at getting all the information in there, man. I really appreciate everything you do with that newsletter. So tell everybody, I mean, how do you do it?
How do I do it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Just write a newsletter. I look to see if there's any good news about the NRA and write a little blurb about it. Depending on time, sometimes I write a little too long, but I try to get like a little short blurb, link to the article. Try to get that message out there to Save the Second followers, to show maybe they missed something on the Facebook page, maybe they're not even on the Facebook page. I want to link in these podcasts because there's a lot of good information that might not get shared. You get opinions from Anthony and Rob, Andy Landers, Rob Pincus, Andy Landers. There's some great people that we have that are a part of this organization, and I want to make sure that gets out there. So if you haven't subscribed, go to the Save the Second and hit that newsletter, put your email address in. And there's the last one that came out last week. It's got a little invitation on there about the board meeting. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
That's another thing that goes back to that was a short one.
Yeah.
There wasn't much going on with NRA that week, but that's another thing that I was going to touch on about being a member. If you are an annual member, it doesn't matter if you're an annual member, if you're a Golden Eagle member, whatever the heck that is. I've gotten an email about that bullcrap before.
The Ring of Freedom members.
Yeah, the Ring of Freedom.
Oh man, yeah, yep.
And like, if you're on Wayne LaPierre's Ring of Freedom, you might need some medication for that.
Yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what your status is. If you pay your $35, $40, whatever the heck it is, whatever deal they're running, as long as you have your card and your membership number, you can go to these board meetings. You can make a stand. You can go and you're guaranteed to see people like Ted Nugent. If you always wanted to see Ted Nugent in real life, well, just now recently, sorry, which I will give him credit for that. I'm very, very proud of where we've come with Ted.
Same,
but
absolutely the same.
But if you wanted to get to know these people, if you wanted to see the first female NRA president, Marion Hammer, she's starting to come to these board meetings now. This is your chance, and you can tell them how you feel, or try to tell them how you feel. And just make a stand. The more they see of people with concerns, maybe it'll, kind of like, maybe there is a problem. Highly doubt it, but it's a shot. We've got these petitions going. That was another thing with the newsletter. Trying to wrangle all these signatures for a petition to get these bylaws changed.
Yeah.
And that's the way that you as a member can make a difference. Yes, you do have to be a voting member to sign the petition. So I wasn't able to sign the petition, but at least I tried. I shared links. I use social media. I don't have that many friends, but I tried anyway. That's a good way to use, like, Chris's page. there's other meme pages in the 2A community.
Tons.
Try to spread that message, because there's still NRA members that just don't understand. They don't see the things that we see. Sometimes it's just an echo chamber. So maybe just breaking that echo chamber that they hear from the NRA, telling us that, oh, don't worry, we're okay. And then a week later, you get a letter in the mail saying they're going to shut down if you do not give them money right now. We are going to shut down. And then on top of that, you'll get a letter from, was it from
Jason?
Yeah, it was somebody, Meadows or somebody in the magazine saying, we are doing the best ever. We're in such good financial graces. But what about that thing you just sent me?
The contradiction is huge.
It's confusing messages. So anyway, I got off a little bit. Sorry, you get me going and I don't stop.
Hey, that's quite all right. And it's something else to consider. You mentioned, so many of us are in an echo chamber, and a lot of members aren't aware that they can do anything. And
right.
The members meeting is pretty wonderful. NRA annual meeting, by the way, last year NRA annual meeting was, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I got to hang out with both of you.
Yeah.
No. Well, you missed
I missed the meeting.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it, but I just didn't wake up in time. And I missed your big stand, Ron.
My stand was paled in comparison to Josh Prince and Rob Pincus and so on.
You were right there.
Yeah, you were right there with them, man.
Hey, buddy, I was there, but I got to tell you, I had way, way, way more fun hanging out with you two the day before. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So if anybody is listening or watching this, I'm telling you, NRA annual meeting, it's a blast. It's in Nashville this year in April, and my gosh, we're going to have a good time, especially the day before, and I'm probably going to hang out with, at least the Faxon guys a little bit more, Pat and Kurt, and hopefully I can win a gun this year. That'd be nice. Right. But beyond that, man, hey, that members meeting is it's
awesome.
It's gonna be fun.
If you like free patches, go.
That's true.
That's all I can say. Free patches and stickers, that's my thing. Okay. I have a CMC drawstring bag full of them.
Yep. Yeah, we were trading patches,
for them, so they're just gonna stay there. And it's your chance. It's your chance to see these people, just like the board meeting, but this is a little more exciting. So I'll never forget. I was on my way out that Sunday. I was heading home, and on the skywalk there was Ted Nugent, and I'm like, "Whoa, that's Ted Nugent! What the heck is he doing here? He don't show up to any of these things." Yeah, But that's what they called that special session, and I'm like, "Holy crap! This is big time. There's a fire brewing within the NRA."
Yeah.
And
I believe that was the first NRA board meeting that Ted Nugent had attended in probably a decade.
Right.
Yeah, something else. And now he was at the September board meeting, and I'm really curious to see if he shows up at January's. Of course, January 11th. We're coming up less than 20 some days now until the January board meeting. That's going to be really fascinating to see the board members and what happens. And oh man, I might be writing about that for days.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll not send the petition to a committee or whatever they did to see if it was liable.
Right. To see if it had merit. To see if the directors attending the board meetings, has merit.
But and then what you said that when you talked to Ted Nugent about that, he seemed to think it was some merit to it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Ted. Man, he apologized to me, in the face, and oh my gosh, he was absolutely sincere. Something else. Go back and check out our post on that at savethe2a.org. That was an interesting time, and it's only going to be more interesting. Awesome. So Jens, it's about an hour into it. I guess about time to wrap it up. And first of all, thank you guys for being on here. Like I said earlier, I see celebrities. I'm not impressed. I am impressed with you two because you guys are absolutely involved, not only in trying to reform the NRA, but more importantly, shaping what is the Second Amendment culture and Second Amendment advocacy. You guys are awesome. Absolute front line AF, no doubt about it. Chris,
Yes, sir.
tell us if you think you're going to make annual meeting and your final thoughts before we wrap up.
All right. Annual meetings, it's still up in the air. About 50-50 right now. Yeah, so I'm hoping I can. We got a lot of stuff going this next year, me and the family and with work and everything. So assuming we can get some things taken care of prior to, yeah.
Crossing my fingers, buddy. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You better be wearing that cape this year.
Oh, I'm definitely wearing that cape. Absolutely, 100%.
You earned it, Ron.
Yeah, you did, man.
By the way, the cape that he's talking about, Chris sent me a cape for standing up at the members meeting last year, and I did shoot one competition this year with that cape, and it was hilarious for everyone to see. But I digress. Please carry on.
Yeah. Well, I actually ordered that cape during the TGC panel.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I told Ken the day before I was going to do it, and yep, I did it that day.
That's
Got
awesome.
it. Yeah. Final thoughts. Ron, you're doing great work with Save the Second. Jamison, you too. I still have hope for the NRA, especially if we can get some reform.
Yeah, and I think we can. I have hope that we can. We certainly need as many people who are concerned to join us, especially in trying to get out to the board meeting and the members meeting and writing their NRA directors. Chris, thank you so much, man. I love you so much. That cape is amazing. I've got to hang it right over there. And hopefully, by the way, I'll be at the TGC panel. Attending the TGC panel because I still haven't got to attend one yet. And we had Genevieve on here probably a month ago, and I love everything that she and John are doing. With TGC, the community is awesome. It really is, and there's so many folks that I love dearly, and you are one of them. But Jamison, you're another, man.
I'll definitely be there this year. I've already got my days requested. Hopefully they hold out. But this year I plan on going for the whole time. Last year I only got to go up for a day. But this year I got work to do. I want to make a difference. I want to try to get these people. It's going to be fun, but I want to try to change some minds. And it's crazy that we have to change the minds of people that are anti-gun, and then also change the minds of people that are like, "Oh, the NRA is okay. The NRA doesn't need reform." Messed up. Yeah. But anyway, here we are. This is where we're at. So just continue to do it, and hopefully there's another big meetup. We'll have some cake. I'll probably make some Carolyn Meadows chocolate chip cookies.
Yes. Oh, that'll be so good. I'll savor every one of those.
Right, exactly. Because, I'm too old to go to jail.
Yeah. And she said that, folks. She said that at the last board meeting. Yeah. And it made no sense even now. But I want those cookies, Jamison.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. We can get those. And, last year was one of those times, especially when I was leaving, when I saw Ted Nugent, like I said, I was like, all right, if you're bringing in the big dogs for this board meeting tomorrow, that following Monday, something's up. Something's crazy. There's a fire going on. This is our time. And I'm so happy that I got to meet you in person, Chris in person, and countless others. I got to meet Rob Pincus, which I was starstruck.
He's such a cool guy, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He's got the coolest business cards. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And, my dad, he has a PDN DVD, it's sponsored by the NRA. and it's got Rob Pincus on the back of it. And I'm just like, my dad wanted me to watch this when I was like 16, and I was just like, I want to play Call of Duty, And now I'm like looking back, I found it, and I'm just like, this is part of my life now. So, I want it to be, because this means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to you guys too. So, and it's great. It's great that I've got to find like-minded people through Facebook, through the internet. Yeah. And I just, 25 years ago, this would not, I mean, I'm sure there would be something like it, but not like this, not to this to effect, to say that I have friends all the way in Colorado Springs. I have friends in Michigan. I have friends, California. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy really that I would consider friends. So those are kind of my final thoughts. You get me going, and I just start going.
I love it, Jamison. I'm going to get you going a little bit more later on, but I definitely got to have you back on the podcast. And Chris, later on, obviously, love to have you back on. And again, guys, thank you so much. Before I give the wrap up, gun websites ask, will Save the Second be at SHOT Show? Unfortunately, I will not be at SHOT Show. Rob Pincus will. We're gearing up for that January 11th board meeting. SHOT Show is the week after, so it's just jam packed. I don't have enough days off of work for me to be out there. But you better believe I'm going to be watching as many social media content creators as possible that show the latest and greatest from SHOT Show. I'm really curious on how that's going to go.
I'm so excited about that Glock 44. Sorry. I'm the only one, okay?
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
How did you know?
Oh, my daughter is going to be so excited too. Sorry. But yeah, okay. And one final one. Peter B., who's been watching this entire time, says, thank you all. Great show as always. Peter, thank you so much for watching. And to those of you that, understand my point of view, or at least my philosophy with all of this, you've already heard this, but you got to hear it again. This is coming from John F. Kennedy. He says, to state the facts frankly is not to despair the future nor indict the past. The prudent heir takes careful inventory of his legacies and gives a faithful accounting to those of whom he owes an obligation of trust. Guys, I'm telling you, that's my mindset. I'm going to state the facts frankly, and I'm going to push forward, with all my friends at Save the Second and the friends of Save the Second to try and reform the NRA. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Of course, you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Podcasts can be found on your favorite podcast app. The website is savethe2a.org. Nick Dooley is the voiceover on our introduction. He is the owner-operator of Dooley Defense in Pierre, South Dakota. All of us at Save the Second are volunteers. Jamison, thank you so much for volunteering. You're amazing. Chris, thank you for being a part of, Friends of Save the Second group. You add so much, and your group is amazing. Here it goes. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Of course, I've got to goof that last part up. From all of us at Save the Second, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.